Welcome to the build video of the brand new Balsa USA Mighty Miter Sander. This is going to be a sanding jig used to help you along in your builds and sanding any angles that you have in your materials. So let's say I wanted to sand an angle of 75 degrees. I can simply set the miter sander at 75 degrees, place my stock inside my sander, put my sanding block in, and then I can sand that piece to 75 degrees. And it comes out just that easy. It's going to make sanding these small angles in any material that you have a lot quicker. So let's get started on how to put this awesome kit together. So here's all the pieces you're going to get with your sanding jig. You're going to get, of course, the base, the legs. You're going to get enough material to make 2 sanding blocks, and you're going to get all the hardware needed to be able to put your sanding jig together. So let's get started on this build, and you'll see how quick and easy it is. Some of the stuff you're going to want to have handy. I always like to have some paper towel to take care of any excess glue. I've got a little piece of wax paper here just to make sure I don't get glue all over everything in my shop. I am going to be using Balsa USA Thick for this, and also some Balsa USA Gold Kicker. So to start out with, I'm going to go ahead and put my sanding block together first. You can take your base and just set it aside for now. And I'm going to bring some wax paper over here, and we're going to go ahead and put this together. What you're going to need to make sure you have is your 3/16 shim. This is going to be included in your kit, and that's how you're going to get your offset for your sanding blocks. So set this aside here, and then all you need to do is take your 1/16 shim, place it down on your bench, and then take a piece of your basswood block and align it with your sanding block. It doesn't have to be completely center, but I like to get it just as close to center as I can, just so it looks better in the long run. But it will not affect, if it's a little bit off, it's not going to affect the way the sander works. So we've got our offset, and you can see here that's what this creates. Using the shim gives you a nice little piece that fits into the channel on your sander. So once we get that all ready, and we know what it's supposed to look like, I'm going to go ahead and add some thick CA to this balsa. I'm not going to use kicker right here because I want to be able to work it around if I need to. So all I do is go ahead and place that as close to the center as I can. And then before it cures, I bring it over here to my shim and make sure I get everything all lined up, so that I have my offset. I want to be careful that any extra glue that squeezes out, so you don't glue your shim on. And then I just take a piece of paper towel and run it down just like that to clear out any excess glue. And you can leave that set. You only have to let it set for a few seconds, and it'll be solid enough that you can get your shim back under there and do the other side. And then we're simply just going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to take a little bit of Balsa USA Thick. You're going to turn this over, put your other side on, and then use your shim underneath to make sure that you get your proper depth. And then right there is one sanding block ready to go. The reason that we use the shim is so that you have the proper clearance here for your sanding block when you start using the jig later. And you'll repeat that same step 2 times. And what you'll wind up with out of each kit is 2 sanding blocks. Now all this is just the stick-on sandpaper, and what I recommend is you use different grits for each side, so you can have 4 grits ready to go for whatever it is you're working on. And then I'm just going to label them what the grits are. You can get this, you can either cut this yourself, or you can actually purchase this in sticky back sandpaper that's 2 inches wide. And this is what these blocks are, 2 inches wide, so that should fit perfect. So the next thing you can do is you can go ahead and get your sanding arm and your handle ready to go. And that's simply a matter of gluing the handle on the end of the sanding bar so that you have something that you can grip. This is a simple process. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and use Balsa USA thick. Line up the two pieces. Make sure I get everything nice and square so it looks good. I'm going to use my paper towel to wick off any extra glue that I may have. And then that's going to be ready to go. So what you can do with this is you can go ahead and round sand this off if you so choose. You can leave it square if you like, but I happen to like the rounded off a little bit better just because I think it looks better and it's a little bit more practical. So you can see here I went ahead and rounded off my handle so it's nice and looks good. Next thing you're going to want to do is you want to grab your base and flip your base upside down. You're going to wind up with two 3/8 square basswood sticks. All that's going to do is be the feet. What that's going to do is create the space you need underneath for the hardware once we get to that step later. So this is just a simple matter of sticking the two sticks together with the base. Nice bead of glue down. Line everything up. I always like to take a little bit of paper towel down an edge like this just to make sure I don't have any leftover glue. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Just a nice thin little bead is all you need. Line up the piece. And that's good to go. If you want to at this point, I like to sometimes just take a little hit of kicker, just to make sure any excess glue I have solidifies and doesn't end up sticking to everything on my bench. So now you have your feet installed. The next step is simply going to be to put the hardware on. So you have your handle, and what I recommend doing is I go ahead and put my pieces in. So you're going to notice that this hardware that's included is going to fit the jig drilled holes fairly close, and that was by design so that when you put these in here there's no play in your sander. So you're probably going to need to use your 9/64 ball driver to get these in place. If you want, you can just go ahead and install both. Again, from start to finish, this sander is only going to take you a couple minutes to put together, and then you can start using it on your next project or your current project. Just like that. So now that I have those installed, the next step is going to be to install my blind nut, which goes in the back side, just like that. So I've went ahead and hammered in my blind nut. I can turn my base over. I can go ahead and use my ball driver to secure my handle and sander guide. You want that snug. You don't want it real tight, but you do want it snug. Then I can go ahead and put on my washer and my nylon nut. Get that finger started. Then you can use your number 9 to tighten it up a little bit. Again, you're not going to want this too tight, but you do want it to be a little bit snug. So you can tighten this up if you have several repeated sands that you need to do, like if you're sanding some angles and you need them all to match, you can do it that way. But you just want to have that fit smooth. And just like that. So now you can see the sander is good to go and ready to start your next project. If I wanted to sand a 45-degree angle, I could just set the sander just like this, grab my piece, use my sanding block, and sand at a 45-degree angle. Just like that. We hope you enjoyed the build video of the Boss USA Mighty Miter Sander. Make sure you swing over to Boss USA soon and grab yours today. Thanks very much for watching, and happy building.